Well, Gina Ellis is on the line, and we're going to be talking about her book, Home, From Fractured to Fulfilled. How are you doing today, Gina?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. Now, your book, Home, From Fractured to Fulfilled, is really a memoir, isn't it?
It is a memoir. Yeah, absolutely.
So, what kind of things do we learn from it, and what's the story that you tell?
It's really just a story highlighting pivotal points in my journey where I had to make a conscious choice. Sorry about that. No longer to live small circumstances, and I think it's really, really common in my age group, but just culturally and from the beginning of time being taught that, I should be smaller to make the people around me more comfortable. And this just highlights, things that I saw from my birth on up that enforced that belief and the courage that it took to step out of that.
Yeah.
And so that's really what the story is about.
And I think a lot of people can relate to that. So, how did you get that courage to step out of it? And what would your tips be for other people to be a bit bigger?
So, I think the realization, number one, that nobody else really has the power to control my life or to control how I feel about myself, etc. That's a power that I have to choose. And the only way that other people receive that power is if I choose to give it to them, right? So this belief of me walking around thinking somebody is bigger than I am or able to control me is a false belief that I had to work through and challenge. And it really does show that descriptively in my story. So, and I think the reality of understanding that when you take a look at your life and you can see where this programming starts, which is typically, generational, right?
Yeah.
And as a culture, you can see us all shifting and trying to understand this better and create something more empowering for ourselves. But when you realize that you have a choice to make and you're either going to recreate the same cycle or you're going to change it. I had 4 little lives at stake and I really had to face that decision. Either I'm going to face my fear and make a change, or I'm going to continue to teach what was taught to me and, keep the cycle going. And that's just not what I wanted.
So what was it that inspired you to actually write the book?
The book, I felt like I'm not alone. I have a whole genre of friends that, we all smile and put on a happy face. And I think we all do this, man, woman. It's just part of what we do. And that's okay. That's healthy. We don't want to walk around crying and, dwelling on our challenges. But at the same time, it's not always real, right? So I felt like there was a fear of being honest that, a lot of my friends felt pushed into the space that they were in. And for whatever reason, and maybe if I have the courage to share how messy the journey can be and it's still really rewarding, that it might inspire other people just even to ask the question, am I living to my potential? Do I feel like I am stifling my talent or true desires for myself? With the belief that I'm making someone else stronger and bigger. And, so my hope is they catch on and they go, yeah, you know what? There's nothing wrong with living my dreams. And I'm still able to provide for the people I love, but even in a more powerful way. So I'm hoping that that's the message, people feel inspired by and start to ask themselves if they're living their potential.
Did it take a lot of courage to write a memoir? Because maybe you're putting a lot of yourself out there that, you might be scared about.
Yeah. So that's a little bit of a trigger question still. I am nervous. I don't walk around, sharing my story. I don't want to freak people out. And there is that underlying fear of like, do I compromise my value in the eyes of other people? by being this vulnerable. And that's a misbelief. I've chosen just to categorize that as something that challenges me, but I believe that it's a strength. It's not going to be a weakness. And if it is perceived to lessen my value by somebody, they're not somebody in my tribe, and they've got, it still is contributing to them in some way. And it's not my job to figure that out for them, but I choose to believe it's a strength. And yes, I feel super vulnerable. It's really something I've thought about a lot in the timing of all of this. My kids are grown, but I protected them a lot. So this is going to be a story that is different from their story, right?
Yeah.
And by putting it out there, they're going to have to process me a little bit more than than they have. So we'll face it as it comes. I just want to be real with people and, be myself. It's my story.
Yeah. In your kind of professional life, how long have you been flipping homes for?
It's relative. So I guess I was thinking about that again this morning. I think I bought my first house in around 2009. And I'd been helping other people out prior to that, but I really got into the game myself right around when the real estate market had crashed, and it was a good time to buy a house. You could find a lot. There was good deals to be had.
That's the thing, I suppose. Whenever it's a bad time for the house market, it's always seen as a bad thing, but for a lot of people, it's the best news ever.
Yeah, what's so funny is people will often talk to me and, it's probably just so hard to find a house to work on and make a profit and all that. I've never found it to be a bad time to buy a house. I've done really well in the last few years, and our market has increased in value. Like twice as much. If you bought a house 3 years ago for $400,000, you're going to sell it today for $850,000.
Wow.
And I'm still finding that there's deals out there, and I'm able to make, 6-figure incomes just from a flipping side. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's quite impressive. I guess, it's more money to buy the house, but the profit you're going to make is greater.
Yeah, it's all relative, right?
Yeah.
So all the prices are going up and all the prices are going down, and it all flows together. It's just learning how to capitalize on improvement and finding that gap that, where you can make a profit.
And was this a career that you always wanted to get into? Because, I don't think it's on the kind of classic list of jobs, so to speak. Is it something you fall into by accident, or is it just like an idea before it becomes a job?
So I've always loved the idea of a home, right? It was always my goal. I had the typical, I don't know, childhood dream of a person growing up in the 70s and 80s and the white picket fence. And my husband did not have the same dream. He was happy renting. So it just kind of brewed that curiosity even deeper for me. And I was always watching the market, always interested in it. And I don't know, it just made sense. It made sense to me. And when it turned out that I had a little bit of money to invest, right during that time with the stock market and real estate market and all of that, there wasn't a lot of things you could do with your money. Yeah. And I knew I could do this. It just made sense. So I don't know if it was by accident. I put some thought into it because it is a risky game to play, unless it's not, because you just know you've got it, right? And I guess I had studied enough that I felt like my odds were really, really in my favor.
Well, can we expect another book from you anytime soon?
Yeah, I think so. We'll get this one out and see what kind of feedback we get. But I feel like there's, this book for me is not about flipping houses and how to. That's done in my course and through consulting and all of that. This book is really just speaking to life experience and the challenges that I feel like other people are going through. And I think there is a follow-up to that because I certainly took action and have created habits and practices that have brought me to where I'm at today. And so that's probably what's coming up, what changes and what recreations of belief systems and whatnot that I had to recreate. I think there's more to be said around that might assist people. So yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Well, in the meantime, where are we able to find your current book, Home from Fractured to Fulfilled?
So I believe it's going to be available on Amazon, and my website, Gina M. Ellis, will have access to that as well. So you're welcome to hop on there and grab it. And then you tell me, where else can we find it?
Probably the usual places, like Barnes and
Yeah.
Nobles, maybe even some shops. I don't know if that's a thing these days.
Yeah, I think Amazon, and I think hopping on GinaMEllis.com will get you where you want to be. So yeah, you can grab it there.
Excellent. Well, many thanks for talking to us today. It's been great to have you on.
Yeah, thank you so much for the interview. I appreciate it.